Howdy, folks. I'm the Pied Piper.
I'm Amber.
And here's some Reddit.
Brian's a liar. He's not the Pied Piper.
She says, I'm not the Pied Piper. I'll let you folks be the judge of that. Our first story is titled, Am I the Jerk for Wanting My Coworker to Clarify an Office-Wide Misunderstanding? A while ago, I went on a date with a girl named Sycamore. I ghosted her since I really wasn't feeling it. Never saw her again as we went to different schools and had no friends in common. Fast forward to present day. I changed jobs and coincidentally, Sycamore is one of my new coworkers. The first thing I said to her is, I know you, because I recognized her. Obviously, Sycamore is just a placeholder, but she has a very uncommon name. To this day, I have never heard anyone else called that, which is why I was so confident that it was her. But apparently, it was the wrong thing to say, since she said she doesn't know me. That was really awkward, so I tried to explain that we had gone on a date 7 years ago. She still said she didn't know me. Now all my coworkers think that I'm crazy. I just want her to clarify that we did, in fact, go on a date and I'm not a liar. I tried talking to her about it, but the problem is I have zero proof and she always says I'm mistaken. I literally checked her last name on the email to make sure it was her. I feel like I'm going insane because the whole office has this impression of me. Taking it back now would just confirm that in their minds. Am I the jerk for wanting her to clarify the misunderstanding? All right, OP. Here's the thing. Maybe she doesn't remember you. Maybe you were a tiny, tiny blip on her radar and she doesn't remember going on a date with you. Maybe she's gone on a lot of dates. In 7 years, that's a pretty big span of time. And maybe you thought about this more than she has. So my thoughts here are that either one, she feels that this is awkward and she doesn't want to talk about it, or two, which I think is probably the more likely of the case, is that she just doesn't remember you and she doesn't remember that she went on a date with you. Doesn't matter how uncommon of a name that she has, because if there was nothing about you that stood out to her, then she may have just wrote you off as just another person. Like, you remember her because she has this unique name. And there may not be, like, a defining characteristic about you, OP, that she remembers. So, I would have just dropped this to begin with, because now, with your digging your heels in with this, you're just going to make the situation worse. Don't bring it up. Just drop it. Just drop it, and you won't have to deal with it anymore, and just, yeah. That's kind of my thoughts here. So no, don't push this. There's no need. Anyhow, take care. Good luck. What do you folks think? Do you think that this is a case of mistaken identity? Do you think that this, OP is, acting unreasonably here, wanting her to admit this? I do. So, especially if she doesn't remember going on a date with him, then how is she supposed to admit to knowing him? You're the jerk. The appropriate response was to say, my bad, I must have mixed you up. Not double down and try to prove to your coworkers that you dated her once years ago. You make yourself look like an obsessive creep. If I were her, I would go to HR about you harassing me. You ghosted her. She owes you nothing. Just shut up about it and let her have some dignity. You're the jerk. I don't even know if this is about dignity here. This is probably just about this guy having an overinflated sense of ego and, thinking that, of course she would remember him. I don't know. Like, maybe she just really honestly doesn't remember this guy. It was 7 years ago. All right. Our next letter is titled, Am I the jerk for publicly calling out my sister and her new husband for their wedding being child-free? My stepdaughter, 15, Jane, has a burn scar around her neck and it covers one side of her face. The reason was it was an accident that took place 4 years ago and she's already gotten tons of insensitive comments. But to me and her dad, she is still the most beautiful soul. My family has been supportive and loving towards Jane. My sister and her now husband got married days ago. They told me and my husband that they decided the wedding will be child-free, meaning that Jane couldn't come. They asked if it would be okay, and we said, yeah, absolutely. We respect the bride's and groom's rules. I've immediately arranged for Jane to stay with a friend that she calls Auntie. Though Jane wanted to attend the wedding, but I explained that it was a rule for everyone and we should respect that. My husband and I got to the venue and first thing we noticed was kids. Kids of all ages all around the venue. My husband literally stopped walking. He paused for a few seconds, looked at me, then let go of my hand and said he was out of there. He walked out, but I stood still when Mom saw me and signaled me to come to join the family. But I didn't go. I asked one of the guests who had a kid with him, and he said the event allowed kids. I was seeing red at this point, 'cause I was fooled into leaving Jane at home and coming with my husband only. I ignored Mom and went straight to where my sister and her husband were standing. Then I blew up at them, asking why they lied about this being a child-free wedding when it wasn't. I asked them in front of everyone why they decided to basically lie to me and my husband and get us to exclude our daughter. Why is Jane somehow different from the other kids who showed up? My sister tried to calm me down, but I bluntly asked if it was 'cause her stepniece had a burn/scar visible injury and that her husband were too ashamed of it. I literally heard guests saying, "Oh." Mom tried to get me to step off the stage, but I proceeded to call my sister and her husband awful, insensitive people with no respect for me nor their niece. My sister started crying, saying she would never, and that I misunderstood, and my brother-in-law begged me to sit, but I refused, and I wasn't interested in celebrating or supporting their marriage after this. I walked out and was followed by my mom and aunts lashing out, saying I was way out of line, and I was disrespectful of the bride, who was my sister for goodness sake, and ruined her wedding by saying that in front of everyone. Mom said it was brother-in-law's idea, and I have the right to be mad, but I should have confronted her later, not in front of the guests and ruining the evening. They said eventually this was their day, and they got to decide, but still. They said I should have spoken to her privately instead of making a scene. Alright folks, what do you think about this one? Do you think that she should have made a scene, or do you think that she should have just spoken to the bride later?
Made a scene.
Amber's vote is on make a scene. I say that this is a very unfortunate situation. I think that OP wasn't wrong to make a scene here. I think that this was a really hurtful, exclusionary thing for the bride and the groom to do. And I know they're trying to pin it on the groom here, but why is she marrying someone who's so shallow that he wouldn't want to have the niece in the wedding or even visible in the wedding? Like, oh, we can only be around perfect people with no, flaws. That is just rude. That is just plain mean and rude. And I mean, if there's a time to call someone out, maybe this was the time. So, yeah. What do you folks think? Let me know in the comments below if you think that this was an overreaction and that she should have waited till later, or if you think she was perfectly justified. So, alright, OP, anyhow, take care and good luck. Not the jerk, they deserved every bit of embarrassment. Yep, just showed all their friends and family their true version of themselves. Definitely worthy of public shame for that. I can't even imagine how they thought this would play out with Jane after the event. Did they think that she wouldn't find out? That she wouldn't see the other kids in the wedding photos on social media and start asking questions? She's 15 years old, not 15 months old. I'm not saying it would be okay to do to a toddler either, but at least they would have probably not realized until older. And for that matter, what were they planning to say if other guests asked them why OP didn't bring her daughter? Kudos to Jane and Dad for noping out of there. Hero dad material. He's a keeper, OP. And a little bit of a wholesome story to end on. Am I the jerk for accidentally upstaging the bride and groom at their wedding? Last weekend, my girlfriend and I went to a friend's wedding. My girlfriend had recently broke her foot, so she was in a boot and crutches for the wedding, which was really bumming her out because she loved to dance and would be sitting the whole night. The newlyweds opened up the dance floor to everyone. My girlfriend was noticeably sad, and of course I stayed with her. About 30 minutes in, one of our favorite songs started playing from when we were young. It was an NSYNC slow song, in case anyone cares. Seeing how bummed she was, I decided to pick her up and dance with her by carrying her, and we stayed next to our table, which was in the back. The dance only lasted about 60 seconds, as I got tired and I put her down. The next day, our phones get tons of message from the bride saying that we were terrible friends for stealing the spotlight with my stunt. We had no idea what she was talking about until we checked social media, and there were photos and videos of me carrying my girlfriend and dancing to the song. It was mixed with other photos from the wedding too, mainly of the bride and groom. According to the bride, it was all her family could talk about the next day, about how romantic it was and saying things like, "That's real love." I didn't realize how much attention we had drawn in that short amount of time. I feel bad for drawing attention away, but I don't feel bad for trying to cheer up my girlfriend. My girlfriend says I did nothing wrong and that the bride has always been dramatic. Right now, the bride's closest friends saying that we are terrible people, while most people say we did nothing wrong. How dare you, OP? How dare you? How dare you pick up your girlfriend and dance with her at a wedding? You should be ashamed of yourself. This is the making of a person without any morals or characters. There are the deepest depths of burning bad places for people like you, OP. I'm of course being just absolutely absurd here. What do you folks think? Do you think that this was intentionally done to steal the spotlight from the bride and groom? This was a dance. It's not like they did this for the first dance while the bride and groom were going. The thing is like this. If you're at a wedding, you're going to have to expect that sometimes people are going to have moments of their own at that event. You can't expect it every single moment to be about you. And I think that this was a horrible thing for them to say to OP, because OP wasn't doing this to steal the spotlight. And then on top of that, they just couldn't be happy that someone else got attention at their wedding. I mean, how selfish and ridiculous do you have to be? I don't know. So yeah, that's my feelings. OP is definitely not the jerk. Good on you, OP, for helping to cheer up your girlfriend who wanted to dance but couldn't because she had a frickin' broken leg. Wow, I just can't believe that. Anyhow, take care and good luck. Oh, the drama. But it's her day, don't you know? How dare you enjoy yourselves at the wedding reception? Sarcasm aside, what a bunch of entitled, selfish jerks. Sounds like the time for you to get a whole new set of friends. Not the jerk, no way. Seriously, I hate how some people think that since it's their wedding, all of everyone's attention should be on them. Not the jerk, Bridezilla needs to chill. The wedding couldn't have been that great if the most exciting thing to come of it was you whirling your injured girlfriend around NSYNC in the back of the room. That's cute, but it definitely isn't viral worthy unless the wedding itself was truly forgettable. Don't worry, you probably won't be invited to our second or third weddings. Ouch! I felt that one. Alright folks, that's all the time we have for today. I hope you enjoyed today's video. If you did, consider giving me a like. If you didn't, consider giving me a dislike. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you all tomorrow.
Bye.
It was an NSYNC song. It was an NSYNC song. Slow song. That is a hard thing to say. It was an NSYNC slow song in case anyone cares. In sync.